And Jesus in his loud cry was heard because of his obedience. Okay. The scripture says, who in the days of his flesh, when he had offered up prayers and supplication with vehement cries and tears. You see, who do this today? Who do this today when you say vehement cries and tears? Okay. When you say vehement cries, it is a cry. It is described as the cry of a person or a pregnant woman who is going to give birth, who is in pain but very strong in will. Ito yung description ng vehement. Kaya kumbaga nahirapan din sila pag-translate nitong word na vehement. In some other translation, they just use loud. Okay, loud cry. But this is not simply a loud cry, but it describes of kasi adjective to, no? It describes of the person who is crying aloud with strong will. Okay, with strong will, who is about to give birth, parang pregnant woman siya who is about to give birth. And this is how Jesus pray. Okay, this is how Jesus pray. And I don't know if some of us could pray like this, you know. And to him, he was shouting to him, to God, to the Father who was able to save him from death. And you know, this is one of the verse, very important verse sa buhay ko. Kasi when I read this a long time ago, and when I read this, you know, because being a Christian, oftentimes when there are trials and there are things that we are having a hard time to surpass to, we tend to reflect back to Jesus and somehow say, well, Jesus did it because, well, he's a son of God and he's God himself. But when I read this, my perspective, my understanding totally changed. Why? Because here it describes that Jesus may be able to commit sin. Jesus may also fail, but he didn't. He didn't. No. He even seek for someone to save him. And this is a human cry. This is not a God. This is not a God who himself crying. This is a human, in the human nature of Jesus crying to the Father. This is where he totally surrender his being God to take the form of in humility of a son as a human being. Okay, and that is why there is nothing that we are going through that Jesus wouldn't understand. Okay. Kaya sabihin natin, hindi naman maintindihan ni Jesus. Hindi niya maintindihan kasi technology. Yan. Remember, God is more than technology. God is more than what we think we are capable of, or what the geniuses of this world are capable of. He is greater than anyone. Everything is created through him. Everything is created through Jesus. And he was heard because of his godly fear. Okay? Though he was a son, kaya in-emphasize yan sa letter na yan, though he was a son, kahit na anak pa siya, yet he learned obedience by the things which he suffered. Where did he learn obedience? By the things which he suffered. And that is why this gives us the idea that suffering is as a way to learn obedience with God. So meaning to say, when you are into suffering, when we are in suffering, ano ang logic nito? Well, this is a good news. When we are suffering, okay, good news yan. Kasi, wow, I'm learning obedience. God is now exposing me to learn obedience by this suffering that I am going through. Okay? God himself or Jesus himself passed through this stage, passed through this experience. He learned obedience through suffering. Okay? And because of his obedience, he had been glorified and became the author of eternal salvation. Okay? Ang sabi ng scripture, and having been perfected or glorified, he became the author of eternal salvation to all who obey him. Of course, may laging may premise yan. To all who obey him.